In today's fast, moving world, many people are carrying invisible weight on their shoulders. From responsibilities at work, expectations from family, financial concerns, and the pressure to succeed, life can sometimes feel overwhelming. And when life becomes overwhelming, two things often take control of our minds: stress and overthinking. Stress is not always the enemy. In small amounts, it can push us to perform better, stay alert, and take action. But when stress becomes constant, when the mind refuses to rest and keeps replaying problems again and again, it slowly begins to drain our energy, our confidence, and our peace. Overthinking is one of the most exhausting habits of the human mind. It is the act of replaying situations, worrying about the future, questioning past decisions, and imagining problems that may never even happen. The mind becomes like a room filled with noise, and in that noise, clarity disappears. But here is an important truth. Peace does not come from controlling everything around you. It comes from learning to control what happens within you. You may not be able to stop every stressful situation from appearing in your life. Challenges will always exist. Responsibilities will always be part of being human. But what you can learn is how to respond to those challenges in a healthier and more powerful way. The way you think about a situation often has more impact on your well-being than the situation itself. When stress appears, many people immediately try to escape it. They distract themselves, avoid problems, or push their feelings aside. But avoiding stress does not remove it. It only allows it to grow quietly in the background. True strength comes from learning how to face your thoughts with awareness and understanding. Overthinking usually begins when the mind believes it must solve everything immediately. It starts asking endless questions. What if something goes wrong? What if I fail? What if people judge me? What if I made the wrong decision? These questions multiply until the mind becomes trapped in a cycle of worry. But life does not require perfection. No one has every answer. No one controls every outcome. And the attempt to control everything is often what creates the deepest stress. When you accept that uncertainty is part of life, something powerful happens. Your mind begins to relax. You stop trying to predict every possible problem and start focusing on what you can do right now. Another powerful step in handling stress is learning the value of pause. When the mind becomes overwhelmed, it needs space. Taking a moment to breathe deeply, step away from the noise, or spend a few minutes in silence can help reset your thoughts. A calm mind sees solutions that a stressed mind cannot. It is also important to remember that your thoughts are not always facts. Just because your mind imagines a negative outcome does not mean that outcome will happen. The human brain has a natural tendency to focus on potential dangers. This instinct helped our ancestors survive, but in modern life it often creates unnecessary anxiety. Learning to question those fearful thoughts can bring tremendous relief. Ask yourself, is this thought helping me, or is it simply creating more worry? If a thought is not helping you move forward, it does not deserve your attention. Another powerful way to reduce stress is through connection. Talking with someone you trust, sharing your concerns, or simply being around supportive people can remind you that you are not alone in your struggles. We often discover that the burdens we carry feel lighter when they are shared. And finally, remember that your worth is not measured by how perfectly you handle every situation. You are allowed to feel tired. You are allowed to feel uncertain. You are allowed to take breaks and care for your mental well-being. Strength is not about pretending everything is fine. Strength is about learning how to protect your peace even when life becomes challenging. Handling stress and overthinking is not about eliminating every problem from your life. It is about building a mindset that allows you to face life with calmness, clarity, and confidence. And when you learn that skill, something remarkable happens. The mind that once felt overwhelmed begins to feel stronger, calmer, and more capable than ever before. Now, let us explore 5 powerful principles that can help you reduce stress, quiet overthinking, and build a peaceful and focused mind. The first step to handling stress and overthinking is something very simple, yet incredibly powerful: awareness. Most people live their lives reacting automatically to their thoughts. A stressful thought appears, and immediately the mind begins building stories around it. One worry leads to another, and before long, the mind is trapped in a cycle of anxiety and overanalysis. But what many people don't realize is that thoughts are not commands. They are simply mental events passing through your mind. The moment you become aware of your thoughts, instead of being controlled by them, you gain a new level of power over your mental state. Think about it this way: if you are sitting beside a busy road, cars will continuously pass by. You can observe them without stepping into traffic. In the same way, your mind produces many thoughts every day, but you do not have to follow every single one. Awareness allows you to step back and observe what is happening inside your mind. When stress appears, pause and ask yourself a simple question: what exactly am I thinking right now? Often you will notice that the mind is repeating the same worries again and again. Maybe you are replaying a conversation, worrying about a future outcome, or imagining problems that have not happened yet. Once you notice the thought pattern, you create a small but powerful distance between yourself and the stress. That distance is where calm begins. Another important part of awareness is recognizing the difference between real problems and imagined problems. Real problems require action. If you have a deadline, a responsibility, or a task that must be completed, the best solution is to take clear and focused action. But many stressful thoughts are not about real problems in the present moment. They are about hypothetical situations that may never occur. The mind often creates scenarios like, what if I fail? What if something goes wrong? What if people judge me? These what if questions can multiply endlessly, but worrying about them rarely produces solutions. Instead, it simply drains your mental energy. Awareness allows you to recognize when your mind is moving into this cycle of unnecessary worry. When that happens, you can gently bring your attention back to the present moment. The present moment is far calmer than the imagined future. One helpful practice for developing awareness is taking a few minutes each day to sit quietly and focus on your breathing. As you breathe slowly and naturally, notice the thoughts that appear in your mind without judging them. Some thoughts may be positive, some negative, and some completely random. Simply observe them and allow them to pass. This practice trains your mind to become less reactive. Over time, you begin to understand that thoughts come and go, but you do not have to follow each one. Another powerful aspect of awareness is recognizing emotional triggers. Certain situations, people, or memories can quickly activate stress and overthinking. When you identify these triggers, you can prepare yourself mentally instead of reacting automatically. For example, if you notice that work pressure often leads to overthinking at night, you can create habits that help release that tension earlier in the evening. Awareness turns unconscious patterns into conscious choices. Perhaps the most important benefit of awareness is that it brings you back to control. Instead of feeling like your mind is running in every direction, you begin guiding your thoughts intentionally. You start choosing which thoughts deserve your attention and which ones can simply pass by. When you practice awareness regularly, stress loses much of its power. Because the moment you notice your thoughts clearly, you also realize something important. You are not your stress. You are the one observing it. One of the biggest reasons people experience stress and overthinking is because they spend too much energy worrying about things they cannot control. The human mind loves certainty. It wants to predict the future, control outcomes, and avoid mistakes. But life rarely offers complete certainty. There will always be situations where the outcome is unknown, where other people's decisions affect you, or where events unfold in ways you did not expect. When the mind tries to control every possibility, it becomes overwhelmed. This is where a powerful mindset shift can change everything. Learn to focus your energy on what you can control and release what you cannot. Think about how much time people spend worrying about things beyond their influence. They worry about what others think of them. They worry about outcomes that have not happened yet. They worry about the past and wish they could change decisions that have already been made. But none of those worries change reality. The truth is, there are only a few things in life that you truly control: your thoughts, your choices, your effort, and your response to situations. Everything else exists outside your direct control. When you understand this clearly, something very powerful happens. Your mind stops wasting energy on endless "what if" questions and begins focusing on meaningful action. For example, imagine you are preparing for an important opportunity. A presentation, an exam, or a big life decision. You cannot control every possible outcome. You cannot control how every person will react, but you can control how well you prepare. You can control the effort you put into learning, practicing, and improving your skills. And when you focus on that effort instead of worrying about the result, your stress begins to decrease. Why? Because action replaces anxiety. Another common source of overthinking is worrying about other people's opinions. Many people spend a great deal of mental energy wondering how they are being judged, whether others approve of their choices, or whether they might disappoint someone. But the truth is, you cannot control how others think. Every person sees the world through their own experiences, beliefs, and expectations. Trying to manage everyone's opinion is an impossible task. When you release the need to control how others perceive you, your mind becomes much lighter. Instead of trying to please everyone, you begin focusing on living according to your values and doing your best. This shift brings freedom. Focusing on what you can control also helps you stay grounded in the present moment. Stress often grows when the mind travels too far into the future or becomes trapped in the past. But the present moment is where your power exists. Right now, you can choose how to respond to challenges. Right now, you can choose to take a small step forward. Right now, you can choose a calm and thoughtful mindset instead of panic. These small choices accumulate into powerful change. Another helpful practice is asking yourself a simple question. Whenever you feel overwhelmed, is this something I can control right now? If the answer is yes, then take action. Even a small step can create progress and reduce stress. If the answer is no, then practice letting it go. Letting go does not mean you stop caring about your life or your future. It simply means you refuse to waste mental energy on situations where worry cannot create solutions. Over time, this habit builds emotional strength. You become calmer during uncertainty, more focused on productive action, and less affected by situations outside your control. And when your mind learns to place its energy in the right places, stress begins to lose its grip on your life. When stress and overthinking take control, the mind begins to move very fast. Thoughts start racing from one worry to another, imagining problems, replaying conversations, and predicting outcomes that may never happen. In those moments, it can feel as though your mind is running without a pause button. But there is a powerful truth many people overlook. The body can calm the mind. Your breath is directly connected to your emotional state. When you feel anxious or overwhelmed, your breathing naturally becomes faster and shallower. This signals your body that something is wrong, and your nervous system enters a state of tension. However, when you intentionally slow down your breathing, your body begins sending the opposite signal, a signal of safety and calm. This is why controlled breathing is one of the simplest and most effective tools for reducing stress and stopping overthinking. When you notice your mind becoming overwhelmed, pause for a moment. Close your eyes if possible, and take a slow, deep breath through your nose. Allow your lungs to fill completely. Then slowly release the breath through your mouth. Repeat this process several times. As you focus on your breathing, something interesting begins to happen. Your attention shifts away from the racing thoughts and returns to the present moment. And the present moment is usually much calmer than the worries in your imagination. Overthinking often pulls your mind into the future, worrying about what might happen, or into the past, replaying what has already happened. But breathing anchors you in the now. This moment is where peace lives. Another powerful habit that helps calm the mind is practicing presence. Presence means giving your full attention to what you are doing right now, instead of allowing your mind to wander endlessly through worries. For example, when you are eating, truly taste your food instead of scrolling through your phone. When you are walking, notice the rhythm of your steps and the environment around you. When you are speaking with someone, listen fully instead of thinking about what you will say next. These small acts of presence train your mind to stay grounded. Many people underestimate how much their mental exhaustion comes from constantly multitasking. The brain is not designed to handle many tasks at once while also processing endless worries. Presence simplifies your mental space. It teaches your mind that it does not need to solve everything at once. It only needs to handle what is happening right now. Another benefit of slowing down the mind is improved clarity. When thoughts are racing, decisions often become rushed or emotional. But when the mind is calm, you can think more clearly and respond more wisely. This clarity reduces mistakes and unnecessary stress. Practicing calm breathing and presence does not mean you will never experience stress again. Stress is a natural part of life, but these tools help you manage it before it grows into overwhelming anxiety. They create space between you and your thoughts. With that space comes choice. Instead of reacting automatically to every worry, you gain the ability to pause, breathe, and decide how you want to respond. Over time, this practice strengthens your mental balance. Situations that once triggered intense overthinking begin to feel more manageable. Your mind learns that calmness is always available. Sometimes it simply begins with one slow, intentional breath. One of the most powerful sources of stress and overthinking is not always the situation itself. It is the story we create about the situation. The human mind naturally interprets events. When something unexpected happens, the mind quickly begins forming explanations, assumptions, and predictions. Sometimes those interpretations are helpful, but often they are negative and exaggerated. For example, a small mistake at work can quickly turn into a story in your mind. I always mess things up. What if everyone thinks I'm incompetent? What if this ruins my future? In reality, it may have been a simple mistake, something every human experiences. But the story your mind creates turns a small moment into a large emotional burden. This is how overthinking grows. The mind keeps repeating the story, adding more fear, more doubt, and more imagined outcomes until the stress feels overwhelming. But here is the powerful truth. You have the ability to change the story. You cannot always control what happens in life, but you can control the meaning you give to those experiences. When something challenging occurs, instead of immediately assuming the worst, pause and ask yourself a different question. Is there another way to look at this situation? Often there is. A setback can be viewed as failure, or it can be viewed as feedback. A delay can be seen as frustration, or it can be seen as time to prepare more carefully. A difficult conversation can feel like conflict, or it can become an opportunity for honesty and growth. Your interpretation shapes your emotional response. When the story in your mind is filled with negativity, your body reacts with stress and tension. But when you learn to view situations through a more balanced perspective, your mind becomes calmer and more resilient. Changing your inner story also means challenging harsh self-criticism. Many people are far more critical of themselves than they would ever be toward a friend. A small mistake becomes proof that they are not good enough. A moment of uncertainty becomes evidence that they are failing. But personal growth requires compassion toward yourself. Instead of attacking yourself for every imperfection, speak to yourself with encouragement and understanding. Imagine how you would support a friend who is struggling. That same kindness should exist in the way you speak to yourself. Your inner voice has tremendous influence over your emotional well-being. If your inner voice constantly repeats messages of doubt and fear, stress will follow. But when your inner voice becomes supportive and constructive, your confidence grows. Another helpful approach is focusing on possibility instead of catastrophe. Overthinking often leads the mind toward the worst-case scenario. The brain tries to prepare for every possible danger, but in doing so it creates unnecessary anxiety. Instead of asking, "What if everything goes wrong?" try asking, "What if things work out better than I expect?" This shift does not ignore reality. It simply opens your mind to more than one possible outcome. Life is rarely as negative as our worries predict. When you practice changing the story you tell yourself, you begin to reclaim control over your mindset. Situations that once felt overwhelming become easier to handle because your interpretation is no longer working against you. Over time, this habit builds emotional resilience. You learn that challenges are not permanent definitions of your life. They are simply moments in your journey. And when your story becomes one of learning, growth, and possibility, stress begins to lose its power over your mind. Handling stress and overthinking is not only about what you do during difficult moments. It is also about the daily habits you build that strengthen your mental and emotional well-being. Your mind, just like your body, needs care and maintenance. If you constantly push yourself without rest, fill your schedule with endless responsibilities, and never give your mind time to recover, stress will naturally accumulate. But when you build small, healthy habits into your daily routine, you create a strong foundation that protects your peace. One of the most important habits for reducing stress is creating moments of quiet in your day. The world today is extremely noisy. Notifications, social media, news updates, and constant digital communication keep our minds stimulated almost every minute. While technology can be useful, too much information can overwhelm the brain. Giving yourself even a few minutes of quiet each day allows your mind to reset. This could mean spending time in nature, sitting silently with a cup of tea or coffee, journaling your thoughts, or simply turning off your phone for a short period. These moments of stillness allow your mind to slow down and regain clarity. Another powerful habit is physical movement. Stress often builds up in the body. When you feel anxious or overwhelmed, your muscles tighten and your energy becomes restless. Exercise is one of the most effective ways to release this tension. You do not need an intense workout to experience the benefits. A simple walk, light stretching, yoga, or any form of movement can help your body release stress hormones and improve your mood. Movement reminds your body that it is safe and capable. Sleep is another essential habit for managing stress and overthinking. When the mind is tired, it becomes more sensitive to negative thoughts and worries. Small problems can begin to feel much larger simply because the brain has not had enough rest to process emotions properly. Protecting your sleep by creating a consistent bedtime routine, limiting screen time before bed, and allowing your mind to relax in the evening can dramatically improve your mental clarity and emotional balance. Healthy boundaries are also a powerful form of self-care. Many people experience stress because they feel obligated to say yes to every request or meet every expectation placed upon them. Over time, this creates exhaustion and resentment. Learning to set respectful boundaries protects your time, energy, and well-being. It is okay to say no when something does not align with your priorities or when your schedule is already full. Protecting your peace is not selfish, it is necessary. Another powerful habit is gratitude. When the mind becomes trapped in overthinking, it often focuses only on problems and worries. Practicing gratitude gently shifts your attention toward the positive aspects of your life. Each day, take a moment to acknowledge something you appreciate. A supportive friend, a meaningful opportunity, a lesson learned, or even a small moment of peace. Gratitude reminds the mind that life is not only made of challenges. Over time, these daily habits create a powerful shield against stress. They help your mind remain balanced, even when life becomes demanding. Instead of reacting to stress after it appears, you build a lifestyle that naturally supports calmness, clarity, and resilience. Handling stress is not about eliminating every challenge from your life. It is about building habits that keep your mind strong enough to face those challenges with peace and confidence. And when you protect your peace each day, your mind becomes a place of strength rather than worry. As we come to the end of this message, remember something very important: your mind is one of the most powerful tools you possess. It has the ability to create ideas, solve problems, imagine possibilities, and guide your life toward meaningful goals. But when stress and overthinking take control, that same powerful mind can begin working against you. The truth is, life will always present challenges. There will always be responsibilities, unexpected situations, and moments of uncertainty. No one lives a life completely free from stress. But what truly determines your peace is not the number of challenges you face. It is how you respond to them. Overthinking often convinces us that worrying longer will somehow produce better answers. The mind keeps replaying problems as if the perfect solution will suddenly appear. But most of the time, endless worry only drains your energy and steals your peace. Clarity rarely comes from a stressed mind. Clarity comes from a calm one. When you learn to step back, breathe, and observe your thoughts instead of being controlled by them, you begin to reclaim your inner balance. You start focusing on what you can control instead of exhausting yourself over things you cannot change. You learn to slow down your mind, change the stories you tell yourself, and build daily habits that protect your mental well-being. These small changes create a powerful shift. Instead of feeling trapped in stress, you begin to feel more grounded. Instead of being overwhelmed by every challenge, you become more resilient. Instead of living inside constant worry, you begin experiencing moments of calm and clarity. And here is something many people forget: you deserve peace. You deserve moments where your mind is quiet, where your heart feels lighter, and where you can fully experience the present without the weight of endless worries. Handling stress and overthinking is not about becoming perfect or never feeling anxious again. It is about developing the awareness and strength to guide your thoughts in a healthier direction. Each day gives you another opportunity to practice this. You can choose to pause when your mind begins racing. You can choose to focus on what truly matters. You can choose calm instead of chaos. And over time, those choices begin to shape a stronger, more peaceful version of you. Because when you learn to manage stress and quiet the noise of overthinking, something beautiful happens. Your mind becomes clearer. Your confidence grows stronger. And your life begins to feel lighter, calmer, and far more meaningful than before.